It's indeed a new day, and it's with a new data analysis tool. Basically, in this case, we are going to introduce a new special package that is called IBM SPSS Statistics. This case, we are going to use version 20, but doesn't matter whether you use 16, 20, or that. There's nothing much new. Everything is almost the same, and it will be the same idea. So we are going to look at that is IBM Statistics tool. And this is the icon. This is how the icon looks like, and we shall now open the icon. That is the icon, and we shall now wait for it to open, and that's how it's opening. Basically, it's the IBM statistical tool. It's basically for entering the data and analyzing the data. So this is our IBM statistical tool. It's basically a very regular statistical tool which most people use, and is very simple to use. I encourage you to follow up the lectures that will be proceeding after this one, so that you will be an expert in using a statistical tool called SPSS. So this is the tool we are looking at, and this is how it opens. It gives us this window on top of the other, and it's basically this. So assuming we needed to open a new already existing database, would now choose it from here, but that's not the topic of today. Today's case, we are going to start from zero. So when it opens like this, we can just close this so that we shall remain with this kind of sheet. This is the the SPSS sheet, and more or less looks like Excel, but is not Excel. So today we are basically going to look at is creating variables and then entering data in SPSS. Now, this is what we have. Now, before we do anything, we have to understand what is in this template. First and foremost, I want to talk about the view modes. Basically, we have two view modes here. We have data view, we have variable view. All of them have their specific roles, and that's what we are going to look at before we start entering the variables and even the data. So we shall start with the data view. When you look at them, when you click on each, it gives a different view, which is almost the same but different. We start with the data view. When you look at the data view, this is where basically we are going to see the data. This is where we shall be in position to see the data that we have set its variables earlier on. So before we see the data, it remains first we have to look at the variable view. Variable view is where we are going to set our variables. Now, say for example, we have a variable maybe of a student, and we are basically interested in taking note of maybe a student's registration or name, whatever we can choose. Then also we are interested in taking the gender. We are also interested in taking the age. We are also interested in taking the marks, say for example, the coursework marks and maybe the final marks. So we shall set all that under variable view, and that's what basically we are going to do. So how do we set the variable views or the views? How do we set the variables for this case? We are going to set the variable through variable view, like we already talked about it earlier on. And then now from here we can see that we have the name. This is where we put the variable name. So for example, if it's gender, we shall put here gender. This is where we're going to set the gender. Then there is a type. When you look at each type now here, we have things like the numerical. When you're talking about that gender name you have just put, is it numerical? Is it string? Is it a dot? Is it comma? But of course, the main ones we are going to use, or which you'll be using depending on your data set, is basically numerical. Numerical is for variable names that have the numerical values. Then we have the string. String, this one can act for variable names that are having maybe letters, or we can say for example, you are typing the name could be under string, and if you're talking about the age could be under numerical. So this is the type we are talking about. And then we shall also, still under that, we have things like date, dollars, custom currency. Assuming it's shillings and the rest, we can set them according to that. So that is that. Then now we come to the width. The width is here basically, this one basically specifies on what is the character, the name, the width of the name of that variable. So for example, it's gender. Gender has roughly how many? That's gender. Gender has around 4, 5, 6 words. So you name it. If you're talking about the age has 3 words, you name the width. So that is that. Then now we come to the decimals. Assuming it's a numerical, you can set its decimals. Either you want it 1 or 0 decimal or 2 decimals. You can set them depending. that is mainly if it's a numerical variable. Then you come to the label. The label here is where you type. So when you look at the name is an abbreviation. It's in short. The name is in short form. It could be if it's gender, you just put gender. There's no other explanation you're supposed to give under the name, but such explanations you can bring them under label. That's now where you can talk about, you put it in depth. So for example, maybe gender of the female representatives, or gender of the population in a Arapai subcount. Say for example, it's Arapai, you put it in full there, so that when somebody is looking at your data set, he can truly understand this variable name from the label. Now we come to the value. Under value here, when you look at value is where you set the sub variables. So, for example, we are talking about the gender. Gender, we know gender is characterized mainly by male and female. So, it's at this level that we are going to set the sub variable names. Say, for example, we want to make value, let it be 1. 1 will represent the male. Then after that, we click OK. Then we go to 2 to represent female, and you click OK. So at the end of the day, when you're entering your data, you will have now two options there under gender. Then it's just a matter of you choosing or putting 1 that represents male, 2 that represents female. Then missing here, nothing much, and then column. Column is where we are going to, assuming you want the columns to be maybe bigger, you can enlarge the columns as well. So that is that. So when you look at that, you realize you'll be now in position to use your data set completely and set your variables. Now, the next step we are going to do is how to set the variables. So we shall now put or name our variables in our variable view. Then after that, we shall see how they will look like from the data view. So we are going to start with an example that we have in our Word document. The first variable here is gender, of which gender has is divided into two. That is, we have gender in form of male and then female. So we are going to see how we are going to enter this. Of course, 1 represents male and 2 represents female. Then we shall also enter the origin or district of origin. Also, we have 5 variables under that. We have Soroti, Komi, Amoli, Moroto, and others specified. So we can now go back to our SPSS, and we shall be in position to now do that into our SPSS datasheet. So under variable view, you make sure that you're in variable view if you're naming the variables. And we say data view is whereby you'll be in position to see the data set or the variables you've just set. But setting them, we do it in the variable view. So we shall now come to our first one here. It gives us that, but that's not what we want. We said we are basically interested in naming it as gender. So we put it as gender. Which type data set is it? It's not gender, we shall take it as a form of string. We shall select string, and then characters there you can set if you want. And then we click OK. And then the width is we might not be interested. The decimal here, you realize the decimal will be blank because we are using string. If we're using numerical, this one would be active, but for this case it's not active. So now here we shall just put a label, maybe as gender of the farmers. Assuming the study is for farmers, gender of the farmers. Then the value here, remember we explained about the value. This is now where we are going to put the gender, the two aspects of the gender, one being male and then 2 representing female. So the value here, the value will be, remember when you come to our Word document here, we are saying the first value 1 represents male, then value 2 represents female. So that's exactly what we are going to do for this case. We shall put here 1, and then the label will be male. And then after doing this, we now add. So it means it has been added here. So that has been added there. Then now we go to the second value 2 will represent female. So that is our female. and then we add that one also. Now here you see we have added both male and female into our variable of gender. Then after doing that, we shall just go straight to OK. Now it has been incorporated here. We shall now see the OK. I mean the one male, and then when you click, it gives you two options there. So that is how we label the values. And then now we go to the next variable. The next variable here is the district of origin. We want district of origin, all these three words to appear in our data set. So we shall get back and we shall now come to the second row here. Then now from here, we now put district. Now, when you look at this, you realize we have three words, and that is district of origin. Those are three words. When you're typing the variable name, we don't leave space. When you leave space, it will not accept it. But instead of putting space, I mean leaving out space to divide the two words, we just use the underscore. Underscore is you press shift and then the dash, which is on top. So that is the underscore. The underscore represents the space. Quote. We are saying when you're putting the variable names, we don't leave the space in between of the two words. Instead, we use the underscore. So district of, then there is again space there, but we put the underscore. So it's a district of origin. So that is now the variable name. It will now accept because we have used the underscores to represent the spaces. Now, when you look at the district of origin, here it will be still string because the district names are under string. We shall leave it under string. And then the label, you can just put whichever description you want to put there. Then maybe district where the farmer comes from. Maybe that is your description, which you put under label. Then now we come to value. When you come to value, how many value names do we have there? We have up to 5. So the first one is Soroti. So value is 1. Then the name will be Soroti. Then we add. Then we go to the second one. The second name we have there is Kumi. So we come to label and put Kumi, and then we add. Then number 3 or value 3 is Kamuli. Then we add. Then the other one is Moroto. Number 4 or value 4 is Moroto. Moroto, then we add. Then 5 is other. So we shall put other there and we add. So those are the values we have there under that variable of district of origin. Then after that, we click OK. Now you realize all the 5 values have been added there. Then the rest you can either alternate them or leave it the way it is. And then we go to the next variable, which is age in complete years. We can even copy this. So it's age. We can just copy and paste if they are very long. And then we come to our sheet. Then now here we are saying it is age. You see it refuses because it has spaces. So it means we have to type it as age. Then we are saying instead of space, we are using underscore age in underscore complete underscore years. Then we now select age in that one will be numerical because we are just going to write it as letters, as numbers. Then the decimals, we can set the decimals either by pressing the underscore, the drop down arrow or the arrow up. So we want to make it to be 0. We can leave it as 0. Then now we label, we just type there something, maybe age in complete Yes. And then now, when you look at the values, from there it's just one open question. The values is not given, so you don't separate it because the person will just type the letters there, and it's okay. We don't put the value there, and the rest is okay. Then now we go to the next variable. The next variable is the course. So we shall type there course, and we know a course will be under string because it's letters. Then okay. Then now from there we come to the label. Maybe we can just type as program that a farmer is undertaking. When you look at label doesn't require, there is no need whether you put a space or not. That one is not sensitive to any other thing. So you can just type in obvious ways. Then we come to the label. Now under label, we have the first course is CGA. So we come, then value 1 is CGA. Then value 2 is DCP. Then value 3 is DAP. Then value 4 is it takes the code of AGB. And then 5 takes the code of BSA. Is it BSA? BAB takes the code of BAB. And then we add, and then we click OK. So you realize here you've also added the values into your variable. Then we go to the last one, which takes the year of study. So we now go to year of study. So under the variable name, it's year, then underscore of underscore study. And that one takes, it takes, what is it? Is it string or? So it takes year one, those things. So that one takes, string, still string. We make sure we set it as string. And then we come to label, you label. Either you label or you can, under label, you can even leave it. It's optional. Then now you come to the values. Now you realize the first one is year 1, year 2, year 3, up to year 4. So the first value, the label is year 1. Then the second one, the label is year 2. Then the third one, the label is year 3. And then the fourth one, we can put the label as year 4. Then we add, and then we click OK. So you realize we have added that as well, and that is the end of our data set. And we can now go and see under data view what it has for us. Now under data view, you realize this is what we have. Under gender, we have this, and then under district of origin, and then age in complete years, course, and then year of study. So you realize this is the data set and it's the data view. We can even adjust on these columns. Say, for example, we want to allow the Y as well to fit in so that study will be complete. We can just like in Excel, we can put the arrow. When the arrow faces that, then we long press and we drag it a little. So that is how we can adjust this in whichever way. So that is that. This is the data set we have, and then we shall now be free to enter the data that we have. So for example, our first respondent we have is maybe say for example is male. So we can put there 1. You know 1 represents male, and then you go on. The district maybe is 2. You put 2, and then you go and click on the age. Maybe the age in complete years is 22. And then we go to course. When you come to course, we know it's a 1 or so, maybe CGA or 2. You just put the number and then you proceed. It will just put DCP, and then you go to year of study. Maybe year of study is 2. You put 2 there, and then you come to the next respondent. The next respondent is 2, which is female. and then you come to the district, maybe a district is 1, and then you come to the age, maybe the age is 25 or 26, and then you come to the course, maybe the course is 4, which represents AGB, and then you go to maybe it's year 4, which represents 4. And then you continue with the data, and maybe the next respondent is number 1, which is male. Then from here, instead of even putting the numbers, you can even come at the extreme here and click. There will be an arrow. Then when you click on the arrow, it gives you, then you just choose the district. If it's the age incomplete years, which is not labeled, we can just put it because 34. And then we come to course, we click here still, then we select the course from here. And then we come to the year, we can do the same thing, click, and then we choose the year. Say, for example, that is the year. And it's the same with the gender. You click on this, and then you select if it's female, and then district, click on the extreme here, then you select the district, and then the age. Since the age, we didn't label the age, here we can just put, because it's an open question. For all the closed questions, provided we have set the values, when you come at the extreme here, it will give you the values that you have set, and then you proceed like that, until when your data set is complete, and you keep on saving it. So when you click on this save, remember previously we are not saved the data set. So to save it, we are saying we come to click on save here. Then from save, it gives us the save as window here. Then from here, where do we want to save it? So for example, we want to save this maybe in the desktop. We shall click on this, and then we look for desktop. Then maybe in the desktop, we want to save it in desktop, in a folder called desktop again. We double click on that, and then we choose. Maybe if we want to just save it in that folder called desktop, we shall just click on that, and then we now put the file name. Say for example, the file name is maybe Arapai students dataset, maybe dataset. So we shall do that, and then after putting the file name, we shall just save. So now realize that Arapai students dataset is here and is clearly saved, and that is that. When you keep on adding, say for example, we have another extra student that has reported, we have that, and then we come to the district, maybe the district is Moroto, and then we come to the age. This is the youngest student we have, maybe 18 years, and this person is from CGA. We just have CGA there, and then this is a first year. It is a first year student. So when we're done adding that, we save. So this time around doesn't take you long like the first time. So we have already saved it successfully. Then when we are done with it, we can now just close. We can close. And it will ask you, closing the last window will exit. Do you want to proceed? Of course, we want to proceed, and we are now closing. Assuming you wanted this output as well, which is not so much, we can just say no to that. So that is that about SPSS, and that is our first